Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the Temple of the Exploding Head Omnibus, Part 1, Chapter 11, The Pool. And this is, once again, another pretty short, intermediate chapter, and we're probably going to continue on to Chapter 12, In Lock. Not very long, either one of them. And I apologize for my lengthy absences. I went on vacation. I got sick while I was on vacation. Of course I did. I found out we went on a cruise in Spain, and I found out I don't think I like flying all that much anymore because I don't know. I just hated. Of course, I had a head cold, so that in a pressurized cabin, that's not going to feel very good. But I was crammed up against a window. I thought, man, I'm gonna freaking have a panic attack because I just don't like being stuffed into small places. I can't breathe, blah blah blah. Anywho, it was a long day. I brought my mom. I promised my mom I'd take her on a cruise, and I have fulfilled my promise. But after hanging out for 2 weeks with someone, you're like, okay, all right. Anyways, last week Sam wants to pay Lady Kylos for the gift of these funky goggles from Hoban. Sam doesn't have any money, so Lady Kylos suggests, why don't you do a future reading that Omnibus can do? Tell my future. Sam hesitated. She's like, well, the future is kind of a scary place. I don't like to look at it, because everything, no matter how innocent, looks more ominous than it actually is. And Kylos says, no, it'll be fun. So they go down to a tunnel, because Sam has to be near or under the ground to see the future. Covers herself in dirt, and then she starts seeing the future. And the future sounds, as Sam mentions, pretty creepy, where bad things seem to happen to not only Lady Kylos, but her friends, her hangers-on in League Society. And they happen out of order. They'll be taken someplace far down the future, but only a few years from now they die. Well, how do you die just 3 years from now, but then you're taken 20 some years from now? It doesn't make any sense, at least in a logical consecutive timeline. But as we're going to find out, the enemies in this book don't follow conventional timelines, and we'll see how that works going forward. Sam eventually freaks out, runs out without her medallion into the snow, points at the ground and says, here is the Olno, it'll stand here. And Kay has no idea what the Olno is, but Sam predicted it would be right there in the snow. And then we run on to the next chapter where Sam finally clues Kay on the completely and totally over-the-top sexual nature of Monoma society. If it had been up to Sam, they'd be mashing constantly, but the Vith aren't quite like that. And Kay also feels he doesn't quite measure up because Sam can do all these amazing things and he can't do squat. He finds out just how sexual Monomas are. He finds out the chain around her skirt is for him to beat her off of him, basically. And then he goes into Cathomir's cathedral to hide out how Sam is searching for him, and Sam knew nothing about that. She couldn't detect him while he was in there. And then once she finally does find him with the help of Lady Kylo, she's astounded that this place exists, that where people or things who might be watching you can't see you when you're in here. And that is a big revelation for Sam. And that also should be a harbinger of what's to come, where Sam seems to be worried about being watched from afar. So let's knock these two chapters out. Chapter 11, The Pool, and then Chapter 12, In Lock. And then after that is the Falling in Love Ball, and that's where things should start really rolling in. Even though it's Chapter 13, as we'll find out later, that chapter, The Falling in Love Ball, was originally Chapter 1 in this book. And you see how things get shuffled around, how things change over time, but we'll get to that in due time. First of all, Temple of the Exploding Head Omnibus, Book 1, The Dead Held Hands, Part 1, Kay and Sam, Chapter 11, The Pool.
We used to be evil once. And the gods are still punishing us.
The next day, Sam, full of energy, wanted to take a walk. Kai was away visiting friends in Remnath, and Kay's parents were off in their starship, the New Faith. They were for the most part alone. They waded into the deepest part of the grove, not another soul around, for literally miles. When they were assured of privacy, they fell into each other's arms, the cloud-covered cone of Mount Vith visible in the distance. Losing control of herself, Sam became like a wild animal, eyes wide, growling slightly. She slammed Kay into a tree and held him there with one arm. "I've been waiting for this for years, Kay," she said breathlessly in an odd voice, ripping his coat off. You don't know how hard it's been to contain myself, to be so polite and proper when I wanted to tear you apart." Her voice was flecked with passion. Kay, it's time that I showed you how I want you. It's time you discover what Monomo women do to their men. She pulled the chain off her skirt. You're gonna need this. She threw the chain over her shoulder. Kay made to get past her and grab it, and she tackled him. Kay struggled with the ravenous Sam, his clothes in tatters, her claws drawing blood. She picked him up and threw him down to the leafy ground, throwing herself on top of him. He was in the fight of his life. She loosened her gown by the straps and wiggled out of it. Kay reached out and got hold of the chain. He wrapped it around her neck once or twice and wrenched her light body off of him. She landed in the leaves and patches of snow, freeing herself from the chain. They circled. Sam tensed up and moved on all fours like an animal. Use the chain. Hit me with it, she growled, her voice unrecognizable. She sprang, and he lashed her across the back with the chain, raising an angry welt. She roared with passion, and he lashed her again and again. He got the chain around her neck once more and tied her to a Vith stone. Sam tied up, the both of them bloody. They fell into each other's embrace again, and they made love for the first time, drifting in and out of delirium for what seemed like hours, the afternoon turning to early evening unnoticed. Another dream in amber as Kay, exhausted and slightly wounded, lay in Sam's arms.
Gonna have some fun.
He saw a woman leaning down over him, the top of her face covered with a golden mask, her chin bumpy and glistening.
Gonna make me jealous.
He saw her standing there, twirling Sam's medallion around on her finger. She hauled back and threw it somewhere into the trees.
Have fun.
Another dream in amber. Sam screamed. Kay awoke. Chained to the stone, Sam clenched up and stopped breathing. Her naked body was racked with convulsions. Kay gawked at her in a panic as her convulsing body broke the chain in several places. Sam, what's wrong? She didn't answer. Her veins rose to the surface in a dark blue web. Snugs! Her medallion was missing from around her neck. Where was it? Frantically, he looked around but didn't see it.
Have fun,
came a laughing voice from his dream, Sam's medallion spinning on the woman's finger. Was that just a dream? Or she threw it off into the trees somewhere. Where was it? Without Snugs, naked and out in the open, Sam didn't have long. Not knowing what else to do, Kay picked up her convulsing nude body and ran with her to the nearby 10 gardens, lost somewhere deep in the depths of the grove. In the center of the lily garden was a good-sized bathhouse featuring a large heated pool, partially under the bathhouse's stone roof and partially open to the elements. Countess Sigillis had put it in years ago. It was one of her favorite places to sit and meditate. The children also used it quite often. Sarah often bemoaning the fact that Grand Olin Manor didn't have a similar pool. During the winter, it was a big hit. Lady Kylos used it just about every day to soak in the steaming water. Now, that heated pool was Sam's only chance. In his fear and agitation, Kay's thoughts spun, his heart pounded. Panic. Things turned to amber all around him. As he ran with Sam, he had a vague thought, wondering what might happen should somebody, like Kai or his parents, be using the pool, but no, they were all gone. What if Lady Hathaline was using it, or what if one of the staff was there enjoying the pool on his or her time off? Seeing the naked Kay, torn and bloody as he was, come running in holding the equally naked and bloody Sam would no doubt create a huge stir, and he and Sam's secret would be lost. He couldn't worry about that. Sam was about to die. He saw the familiar stone walls and billowing plumes of steam from the bathhouse approaching as he ran, and for a brief second he thought he could see through the stone walls into the lavish interior. Oh, creation! There were two people in the bathhouse, a man and a woman, and he didn't recognize them. They must be some of the staff. Whoever they were about to get a catastrophic bit of gossip to spread around. What if they had a holomon or some other type of photographic equipment? Images of he and Sam could be floating around the league in a matter of moments. He saw them casually watch as he approached. "You there in the bathhouse," he yelled. "I order you to look away. Look away, or face my punishment." Kay usually tried not to order the staff around much. That's what his sister Lady Kylos and Sarah were for. And he never threatened them with punishment, but this situation was dire. He looked down at Sam. He was shocked. For a moment, he thought he could see some sort of strange fibrous collar around her neck, one he'd never seen before. Interlaced in the folds of the collar were a host of small diamond-shaped crystals, etched with odd writing. The crystals were pointed and sharp, and the collar they were mounted in seemed somewhat stuck to Sam's flesh, like they were fused to her skin or possibly stitched in place. He blinked to get a better look, and the image in amber was gone, just Sam's perfect neck as usual. He must have been seeing things. He must have. He leapt over the low stone gate and neared the pool, running through the vast gardens of lilies. There were a number of hot springs near the surface in this area of the grove, and the ground felt warm under his feet. There was the opened end of the pool just ahead. Out of breath, Kay slid to the poolside and placed her into the steaming water. Her rigid body wanted to float at the surface like a log. He jumped in with a splash and held her body down. Her head with its mane of black hair refused to submerge, floating like a buoy. Sam seemed dead, her face locked in a grimace. Sam, wake up! Sam!" He splashed the hot water on her face. Nothing. "You there!" he called to the people he'd seen in the bathhouse. "I need you to get help at once. My friend is dying. Make haste." No answer. The interior of the bathhouse appeared to be empty. He was certain he'd seen two people within. "Hello?" he said again. "Come out and get help, or by creation I'll have the two of you in irons." No answer. Sam coughed, and he turned his attention back to her. The warm water of the pool was having an effect, and she was coming to. She thrashed a bit in confusion, and he continued to hold her body down. She began kicking and nearly pummeled Kay to death as he doggedly held her down. After a few minutes more, Sam was breathing normally again, her mass of black hair spreading out like an oil slick around her in the steaming water. She calmed and relaxed. Finally, she opened her eyes and seemed no worse for her adventure. Kay sighed with relief. "God, Sam, are you all right?" I think so. What happened? I thought I was going to die of the cold. It was overwhelming." She looked down. "Oh, my medallion. It's gone. What happened?" I'm not really sure. I had an odd dream where someone took it from around your neck." Well, who would do that?" "I don't know. It was just a dream. Perhaps it came unclasped. We're going to have to do something about that. Get a second and a third one available as backups to prevent this sort of thing. I'll go back and find it, Sam. You stay put, okay? You'll be safe in the water. Also, I thought I saw somebody in here before we arrived. Call them if you need help while I'm gone. Sam squinted. I don't see anybody. Kay, don't go. Where are we? This is a bathhouse in the 10 Gardens. It's a place my mother had built to take refuge from the daily grind. There are no terminals here, no hollownets, or any other sort of technological contrivances. This water is so much like home. And look, I can sit here and enjoy the evening without my medallion. She kicked with her foot and made a splash. Kay saw the welts on her back and felt the scratches on his begin to sting. Are you all right, Sam? Did I hurt you with that chain? I'm fine. I should have given you more preparation. When we really get aroused, that's how we are. Does that prospect give you pause? No. He felt his back sting. Sam was overjoyed. Here I don't need the medallion. Here I can be anything you want me to be, Kay. Tell me and I'll be it just for you. You're fine as is, Sam. Just relax and stay put. I'm going to go back and fetch your medallion. She put her arms and legs around him. He tried to pull free, but couldn't budge. Don't go, Kay. Don't go. I just nearly died right now, and I don't want to be alone. You'll find it later. My medallion's not going anywhere. Look for it later, please. But it's getting dark. Then wait till morning. She drew him in tighter. Night was falling. Snow fell, and the open-air bathhouse lit up in soft blue light. The large snowflakes sizzling when they hit the water. Pillars of steam rising up into the darkening sky. Kay, why have you never brought me here before? Sam asked, basking in the warmth. This is enchanting, the hot steaming water, the snow. Look at it, snow. Now I can properly appreciate it. It's so pretty. We have nothing like this. The sky was interlaced with bloated clouds, lazily dropping snowflakes amid broken cracks revealing stars. I love it. I can sit in this pool all day with you. I never really thought about it, I suppose. I'm still getting used to you being free to move about. She kissed him. I'll expect you to bring me here often, Kay. We can make this our place where I can be anything you want me to be. Why do you want to change your image? Well, that's what Monomo women do for their men. I want to make you happy. Kay pulled away for a bit and looked at her. He was completely used to her white pallor in her eyes by now. She was a beautiful young woman with a soul to match. And he noticed something. Sam, where's your belly button? I don't have a belly button. No Monoma does. That's why we like yours so much, I guess. We love belly buttons. We think they're so neat. I got a hold of a picture of you several years ago swimming at the beach on a Nars or somewhere with no shirt on. Oh, you have a great belly button, Kay, she said with passion. Do you think less of me for not having one? No, Sam, it's just a belly button. She looked down and pointed at his and probed it with her fingers. Is that mine? Is that my belly button? A tiny little bit of logic somewhere in his mind took exception. Well, wait a second. If you don't have a belly button, how are you born? How are you sustained during your maturation in your mother's womb? She snuggled in close, her finger in his belly button, and whispered into his ear. And there's one more thing. Oh, here it comes, he thought. What is it, Sam? We also have something we call Vedamena. The glory hands. They are an extra pair of arms that our old ancestors used to have. Old Monomas centuries ago used to have 4 arms, but the trade is mostly gone. Modern Monomas only have 2 fully developed sets of arms. The second pair is still there, but in a tiny vestigial state. She lifted her arm. Under her armpit was a tiny bump. Kay examined it closely. Sometimes, if we get very old, the arms sprout and develop, but that only happens every so often. My grandmother sprouted in the last few years of her life. Kay continued to examine the bump. Why did you lose your extra set of arms? I'm not certain. We have old stories of a long time ago when we were four-armed and evil and worshipped a horned god deep in the ground. And then the gods of jade and sapphire came from the sky and took the evil from us. In payment, they took our second pair of arms. I'm glad they're gone. She took him by the chin. There is a word in my language I've wanted to say to you for a long time. It's a word we don't utter lightly. I've said it to you before, but you weren't listening. When I made your little toy gazelle, I said it. When you were a little boy, I sang it to you. Now I want to say it to your face. And I want you to understand how many of my people long for this moment and how few actually get to live it. Kay settled into Sam's arms. She cradled him, savoring the warmth of the water. Arandan, she said, you are my Arandan. What does that mean? It means a lot of things. It means most literally beloved. It also means dreamed of and sacred. It means I love you, Kay, and that I've dreamed of you my whole life. She grew misty. I don't know how elder girls are with the language they use, and I don't know if there's a word in your tongue that means as much to them as Arandan means to us. Arandan, I've always loved you. Since I was a little girl, haunting your room, afraid to present myself. The first day we spoke in the chapel, I was so happy, and I cried myself to sleep that night. I told my grandmother that I finally spoke to my Arandan. I've done some things I'm not particularly proud of through the years. Everything I've done, though, I've done for you, for my Arandan. The water steamed and the snow fell. But why, Sam? Why me? Because I saw you and me in Future's night. It happens sometimes. Monomas often see elders in their dreams. But mostly we just stay by our lake and hide in the fog, wishing we weren't so afraid. And then we go to the wall and plant our flower, and the dream fades, leaving us with sadness and regret. We wear black to match the sadness in our souls. Oh, I didn't want to stay away, Kay. I didn't want to be afraid. I wanted the dream to become real. And I wanted to give you some of what you've given me. You said you and your people are afraid of something. What is it? Sam paused and considered her response. Like I said, we were evil once. We're still being punished for it. She waited for a response from Kay. She had just bared her soul. Her heart was out in the open to either be anointed in love or ripped out and burned. Sam, Kay said, in Inuit, words often have a male and a female version, right? Is there a female version of Arandan? Saritila. It's Saritila. And if I were to say that to you, how would it make you feel? Like nothing else in the world matters. All my troubles gone. Then you are my Saritila, Sam. No belly button and all. Okay, say it again. Saritila. She smiled and pulled him down, and they made love again and again. And with that, we conclude part 1, chapter 11, The Pool. So, Kay and Sam finally get down to smashing, and it's a pretty rough and brutal experience. And then, as Kay often does, he has these funky dreams tinted in amber. And strange things happen in these dreams, and he can usually remember them throughout the course of the day. And he dreams of this strange woman wearing a golden mask standing over them, saying, kind of chiding them, saying she's going to get jealous. And then all of a sudden he sees this woman with Sam's medallion around her finger, spinning it casually, and then she throws it off into the trees. And as the dream in amber fades, Sam starts screaming, and Kay sees that Sam is indeed missing her medallion. Out in the snow with no clothes on, Sam only has minutes to live. She is literally in the process of dying. So, thinking fast, Kay runs her to the bathhouse, a little heated pool in the middle of the 10 Gardens area of the Telmus Grove. that his mother had put in. It's a lot of hot springs in the area, and the water is naturally hot, like a hot tub. And as he's running with the naked, bleeding Sam, he sees two people standing there in the bathhouse. And Kay's usually not very imperious. He doesn't order the staff around too often. He treats the staff with kindness, usually, and respect. But in this case, he's naked and he's bleeding, and Sam's naked and bleeding, and if the staff were to see that, that would be a major issue, since their relationship's supposed to be a secret. So he orders them. He goes, I order you to turn away and don't look, and if you say anything, I'll have you in irons, blah blah blah. But he gets to the pool house and there's nobody there except the two of them. He plunges into the hot water and Sam recovers. And then Sam is enchanted by the water, and she says, here, I don't need my medallion, I can just be in the water and I can change my shape. Apparently that's what Mono women enjoy doing for their men, is transforming themselves into various things and proceeding from there. And then she tells Kay that he's her Aaron Dan, and that means a lot to her. It's like a very important word in Monomoy tongue. So we see Kay and Sam acknowledging their love for each other for the first time. It hasn't been spoken before, and now it has. The next chapter is another short intermediate chapter, chapter 12, In Lock. So and this is one of these things, like it's a little seed you plant early in the story, and it doesn't really pay off. It's not even going to pay off until book 2, The Machine. Here is where it gets introduced into the narrative, but it's going to be kind of a mystery until the next book. So let's proceed immediately. Part 1, Chapter 12, In Lock. Now that they were lovers, Sam often visited Kay at night, something she'd never done before. Kay lay in his huge bed, and then there was Sam, appearing from nowhere, quickly donning her medallion. The interlude in the grove and the bathhouse truly opened the floodgates, for now Sam loved to have sex. She was crazed for it. But she wasn't gentle either, often scratching and bruising him. Sometimes, when she appeared, she had on a thin nightgown, or when she was even more ravenous, she appeared naked and quietly climbing into bed and attacking him. Sometimes Kay needed the chain. Trips to the bathhouse became frequent, usually late at night so they could have it to themselves. At Sam's insistence, Kay began picking forms into which she could transform. He was shy at first, picking simple things like blonde hair and swarthy skin, even though eventually things took an exotic turn. Sam insisted that he opened up and share his soul with her, to let out all the things that were there deep down inside. Shame, she said, had no place with his Saratila. There was a cook in the kitchens with a 4D tattoo who was rather ugly, but whom Kay found oddly seductive. Sam became her for him, tattoo and all. Admitting to his childhood crush on Lieutenant Kylos, Sam became Kylos for him, a passionate, ravenous Kylos nude in his arms. And then he chose a sister, and another time she became a demon for him from the pit of his nightmares, winged, fanged, and hoofed. Those encounters were truly memorable, and digging into the deepest corners of his fantasies just to see what it would be like, Sam became Sarah for him once, her vith blue eyes alight with passion. Making love to this image of his cousin was strange in the extreme, though just that one time it gave him unheard of pleasure. They conducted themselves in such a way for nearly 5 years, a secret couple, married in all but name. The only people other than Kay's parents knowing about the relationship was his sisters and a few of the staff. Lady Kylos was a friend and proved remarkably good at keeping secrets. Lady Hathaline did her own thing and didn't give a hoot, and the house staff minded their own business, and Mazer was still too young to really know what was going on. Sam sometimes had terrible nightmares, usually late in the night. She screamed and spoke Annui too fast for him to understand. She pleaded and begged before some unseen tormentor, and then she would cry in her sleep, her whole body shaking. Kay always woke her, and she never recognized him at first, and then she'd embrace him and continue weeping until she cried herself back to sleep. In the early morning, he always asked what she dreamt of, and she wouldn't tell him. She refused to tell. She often said she couldn't remember what had upset her so, but Kay could tell she was lying. She knew exactly what it was. Their relationship was still a mostly winter event. Come summertime, with his cousins Sarah and Philip dominating Kay's time, Sam had to stay away, and though she rarely complained, Kay knew with each passing year she began to resent it more and more. Not having the HoloNet at her home at Castle Astralon, they communicated solely via correspondence in the summertime, and with occasional conversations in Sam's chapel. Talking to Sam in the chapel was, frankly, an unpleasant experience, as she was often surly, bemoaning the fact she had to stay away. The letters she wrote him in the summer weren't much better, hinting at her growing impatience. It was her choice. She insisted on secrecy, so she had to live with it. He received a strange correspondence during the summer when he was 20. Kay's correspondence pile generally shrank in the summer, drying up to only the most droll and uninteresting of letters, to which he had no choice but to respond. He got letters from Sarah and Philip, and correspondence from his aunt, the Duchess of Olin, a forbidden person around the castle, his mother hating her with a passion. However, he got a few letters from prospective ladies as well. It seemed odd. That was a rather opposite of how it should be. In the winter, with Sam around, his pile of letters generally grew, including even a few letters from various ladies around the league. Though he had little time to answer them properly, Sam made sure of that. The letter he received was hand-delivered to Kay by courier. It had no return label. The letter had a small notice stamped where the return address should be. It said, "Held in lock," with the current date, meaning the letter had been mailed at some unknown time in the past, but was held at the sender's request at the Vithland Delivery Center until just the day before. People sometimes mailed letters in lock to ensure that a letter was delivered at a certain desired time and date. People most often sent Dear John letters in lock to ensure they were far away, possibly on another planet, when the letter was finally delivered. Inside the envelope was a folded 2-page note and a single dried flower, rather like a small daisy but with fewer petals. The note was written in red paint and was hopelessly smeared. Apparently the letter had been in lock for quite some time and had gotten either wet or had been stored in a humid location. The flower was white with a black button in the center. He didn't know what sort of flower it might be, or what meaning it had. He sent the flower to his aunt, Duchess Tori Jane of Olin, who was a noted expert on Canaan flowers and knew their lore. Several days later, he got the flower back from the Duchess, along with a short note. "It's called, in the common vernacular, White Amelia, a hardy flower hailing from the south of Cana, a near relative to the common daisy. Likes lots of shade. Its nectar is rich in sugar, but can be poisonous to many species of insect if the flower isn't fully matured. You need to come down here and visit more often. Signed, Dimples." The Duchess always used the code name Dimples when she corresponded with Kay, just in case his mother got hold of the letter. Sam swore she had nothing to do with either the letter or the flower. Kay liked a good mystery as well as anybody. He hoped that Sam would one day fess up to sending the note and the flower and reveal what was on her mind. He showed it to his father, hoping he, with his sight, could make something out of it. But no. The note had been written in brushstrokes, had no pen scoring marks on the paper that might be followed. The only way to read this note was to go back deep in time and read it before it had bled into illegibility. He stuck the note up on his bedroom mirror and let the matter drop. And with that, we conclude part 1, chapter 12 in lock. So Kay gets this weird letter and a flower. The letter is badly smeared in red paint. He can't read it. He sends the flower to the Duchess Tori Jane of Olin, who is on very friendly terms with everybody at the castle, except his mother, and going back to their old black hat days, Tori Jane and his mother, Countess Sigillis, were rival black hats and didn't like each other at all. And even though their black hat days are behind them, they still can't get past that dislike that they had for each other back then. Anyways, Tori Jane says that this flower is known as White Amelia, and it's a relative of the common daisy, but it thrives in very low light and is very poisonous to most kind of bugs, except if the right bug comes at the right time. He doesn't quite know what to make of all this, so he just puts it in his drawer and files it away. And again, as I mentioned, that this letter is a little nugget I drop into the narrative, but it's not going to be picked up until the next book. So just so you know it's there, we'll revisit it when the time comes. So we're getting through this intermediate part of the first part of the book. So as Kay and Sam's relationship matures, we got to see all that, but now we start actually rolling on the plot. And the next chapter, chapter 13, The Falling in Love Ball, as I said, used to be the very first chapter of the book. So it's, again, just how the creative process works. You shuffle things around, things undergo a genesis, and eventually you get to the final draft. So it's, instead of chapter 1, it's chapter 13. And finally, we're going to actually see his cousins, Sarah and Philip, in the flesh at the Falling in Love Ball. So we'll see how that goes. And we finally meet these two that we've heard a lot about, but never seen up close. Until then, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.